Have you ever wondered how modern photography came to be? How did we go from physical photos to taking digital photos on cameras to taking instant digital photos on our smartphones? Engineering and photography has come a long way, and I want to talk a little bit about how physical photography came to be. The term camera obscura is Latin for darkroom. A camera obscura is any dark room or box where a small circular hole allows natural light to flow. Rays from the sun bounce off a subject and pass through a hole in the camera, casting light onto the back of the camera. If you were to completely cover all the windows in your room and only let light pass through a small circular hole, you would be able to see what's outside your window cast onto the back of your room. In a camera obscura, the image is vertically and horizontally inverted because the sun's rays travel in a straight line. Another fact is that if your hole or aperture is smaller, the image will appear more detailed but darker because there is less light exposure. However, if your aperture is bigger, the image will appear brighter but less detailed. The principle of the camera obscura is applied when making a pinhole camera to capture images physically. A special type of paper, film, is coated with chemicals that darken the paper when light is cast. Rays of light reflect off the surface of the subject in all directions. The precision of the aperture lets through a limited amount of light and darkens the film, revealing an image of the subject. This film is placed upright in a completely light-tight box with a very tiny aperture on one end. Ideally, we want to engineer the box in such a way where we can expose and conceal this aperture as desired without letting unwanted light in. To determine the ideal distance the camera must be from the subject to maximize its size on the film, we would perform a simple proportion. I over F is equal to O over D. In this proportion, I represents the size of the film, divided by F, which is the focal length. Focal length refers to the distance from the aperture to where the film stands. This ratio is equal to O, the size of the subject, over D, the distance between the aperture and the object. Typically, the film size and focal length are fixed, but depending on the size of the subject, the distance will have to be calculated. Finally, to determine an appropriate exposure time for an image, on a bright sunny day, a camera with an aperture of 0.5 millimeter diameter will require around 50 seconds to a minute to let in enough light. However, on days with worse weather conditions or limited amounts of light, exposure time may be up to 1 minute and 30 seconds to 2 or more minutes. By completing all these steps, you can expect your physical photographs to look something like this.